Life history of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, from birth to death. Hundreds of years after his death, there are now more than 1 billion people who still follow his message and strive to be more like him. It's Prophet Muhammad, the last of Allah's messengers, and the carrier of the Islam peaceful message to the world. Who is Prophet Muhammad? Prophet Muhammad's full name is Muhammad ibn Abd Allah ibn Abd al-Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. His family was a very respectable family who worked in politics and commerce in Mecca. Long before he was a prophet, he was well known for his honesty and dignity among his peers. There are several Prophet Muhammad stories about his good deed in his early life and how his purity and honesty drew all people to him. He was popular and loved among Meccans as well as foreigners. He was chosen by Allah to hold his message of Islam to the world by receiving revelations of the Quran that he was asked to spread to the whole world. He was Allah's last messenger after Jesus, who promised his prophecy to deliver the last and complete religion. Islam. Prophet Muhammad's story. 570. Prophet Muhammad's birth. Muhammad was born in the year 570 in the town of Mecca, a mountain town in the high desert plateau of Western Arabia, Saudi Arabia now. He was the only son of Amina bint Wahab and her husband Abd Allah bin al-Muttalib, who passed away before Muhammad was born. In his early years, he was raised by his mother Amina, and he grew up in the hill country of Mecca. 575. His early life. In 575, Amina passed away, and his nurse Halima took Muhammad to his grandfather Abdul al-Muttalib, making a huge altering point in his life. Muhammad mastered the fundamentals of statecraft during these years. Mecca was the most important pilgrimage site in Arabia, and Abdul al-Muttalib was its most respected. He wielded considerable power over pilgrimage concessions and regularly presided over Mecca's Council of Elders. When his grandfather passed away in 578, his uncle Abu Talib took care of him for many years. He continued to learn from the elders, which made him gain an excellent reputation of being trustworthy at a very young age. 580 to 594, Prophet Muhammad's teenage years. When Muhammad wasn't working as a shepherd to help his uncle, he used to travel with him in heist merchant journeys outside Mecca. His reputation grew while he was accompanying caravans to trade centers, and older merchants used to call him Al-Amin, or the Trustworthy. 594, Prophet Muhammad's early 20s. In his 20s, he worked for a very wealthy lady called Khadija. Despite his young age, she was drawn to how accomplished and trustworthy he was. She proposed to him, and they got married in 595, starting a very happy marriage. 595 to 609, Prophet Muhammad's family life. They had 6 children together, but none of them made it to adulthood, except for Fatima az-Zahra, who grew old to be one of the most important people in Islamic history. She taught women a lot about their religion and how to do good deeds, and she reported lots of quotes from her father, PBUH, in order to spread his teachings among Muslims, especially after he passed away. 6 and 10, the first revelation. Muhammad PBUH received Allah's revelation when he was 40, when he was meditating in a mountain called Jabal Nur in Mecca. He heard the words of Allah relayed by the angel Gabriel, who appeared and started to recite in the name of your Lord who creates man from a clot. Recite, for your Lord is most generous. This experience jolted Muhammad to his soul. It took him several years before he dared to discuss it outside of his family, who believed in him in a heartbeat. The first believer was his wife Khadija. 613. The message is out in the open. For the next 23 years, Muhammad continued to receive Allah's message to mankind through the Quran, the final and complete book. When he revealed his message, he faced lots of mockery and abuse. The ruling tribe of Mecca, Quraysh, imposed a trade ban on Muhammad's followers, subjecting them to near-famine conditions. 622. Allah's orders to emigrate. To Medina, Allah ordered Muhammad to leave Mecca and head to Yathrib, which later got named Medina. He was most welcomed. Thereafter, he ended a civil war and built a strong believing community of Muslims who lived in peace and tranquility, but a comeback was still required. 625, 628. The forming of army Muslims waged a series of wars for survival between 624 and 628. The last major battle, the Battle of the Trench and Siege of Medina, was fought by Muhammad and his supporters, and a truce was signed in order to let Muslims live unmolested in Mecca, which the Meccan allies broke 1 year later. 630. Muhammad returns to Mecca. In 630, the Muslim army marched into Mecca and took the city with few casualties. Amnesty was given to many Meccan leaders who had rejected Prophet Muhammad, and many others were pardoned. The majority of Meccans converted to Islam. The statues of pagan gods in and around the Kaaba were then destroyed by Muhammad and his followers, declaring that there's no God but Allah. 630 to 632. The last 2-year Prophet Muhammad PBUH lived in Mecca for 2 years before he passed away from illness in June 632 in Medina. After his last pilgrimage in Mecca, he returned back to his wife's house in Medina, where he was ill for several days until Allah took his blessed soul. When was the birth of Prophet Muhammad? Peace be upon him. In Hijri, Prophet Muhammad was born in 12th Rabi ul Awwal in Mecca, according to the Hijri calendar. The year he was born is not valid in the Hijri calendar, as the Hijri calendar marks the emigration of Muhammad and his followers in 622. However, we can say that Muhammad was born 52 years before Hijra, emigration. Prophet Muhammad and Aisha love story. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and Lady Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, had a very popular love story. He was never ashamed of publicly showing his love to her. She loved and respected him during his life and after his death. When Abu Bakr, Aisha's father, proposed his daughter to Prophet Muhammad after the death of Khadija, he refused. Abu Bakr was so close to the Prophet, however, the Prophet refused due to how young she was then. Later on, they got married and lived a very happy marriage. No other woman was loved more by our Prophet, peace be upon him, that he wished to die with his head in her lap, which he did. Their relationship is well known in the Muslim world, and they were so taken with each other's company that they planned on being together in Jannah, so they'll be together in the afterlife, just like they were in life. In so many ways, Prophet Muhammad's life was a lesson for all. Go to the nearest Islamic bookstore and select a concise book about the Prophet's (PBUH) life and learn as much as you can from